This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Phil, all caps, and I am here with one of my co-hosts because the other one, unfortunately, decided he would rather hang out with some old people from his job and, like, celebrate them being there for some long period of time or some bullcrap. After a dope Knicks win, he is not here. He sold us out. And the worst part about Eru is he did it so last minute. I texted like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. I was like, yo, y'all ready for the night? He's like, oh, yeah, my bad. I'm not going to be there. I was like, yo, you are whack. I told him that he sucks and that I hate him, but that I wish that he would have a good night. Yo, my guy, Freezy is in the freaking building. Freezy, bro, I'm so glad that you found me here on this channel because we used to connect a lot back in the day. So I'm so thankful that you're here. Same with my guy, Julian Bloom. Bro, appreciate you. I got Amdios NYK in the building. Guys, this is going to be a very, very chill episode. So if you guys want to come up and chat on certain topics, just let me know, and I will drop the link in the chat. If you guys can, as you can see, it says powered by StreamYard at the top. Some of the guys that we rock with and share this channel with, they didn't let us know that, you know, they downgraded this past week. So we can't stream to Twitter. We can't, you know, do any of that stuff right now. So if you guys could do us a favor and just retweet this on your Twitters and your Instagrams and whatnot, we want to get the numbers back up. And I'm hoping that by next week I can get that figured out. Because I was not informed of that until about 35 minutes before the show. So it kind of sucks, but, you know, we still want to blow this thing up as much as possible. But what is up, Apollo? How are you freaking doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm a lot better as of late after the last 2 games, after getting some wins. But outside of that, I've been all right. Can't complain. How about yourself, bro?
I'm good, bro. Actually, yo, this week's been crazy. So me and my family were supposed to leave, you know, Tampa, get back on the road. Unfortunately, my youngest son, Miles, you know, got rushed to the ER the other day, and he's got to have a surgery. So now we're back in Tampa for another 3 weeks before we can hit the road, because his surgery will happen in about a week and a half, and then he's got to have about a week recovery before we can head out. So it's been a crazy, crazy week. Aside from, you know, the Knicks being impressive, winning 2 in a row, this has been a little bit of a crazy, you know, few weeks. But yeah, other than that, you know, if y'all can keep him in your prayers, his name's Miles. My little man, strong as can be, but still an unfortunate kind of, you know, situation for him. But, you know, we got a lot to talk about today, bro. Like a lot to talk about, you know, from the Mikal versus Tibbs conversations, to that victory last night, to the Jalen Brunson injury. You know, the crazy thing about us going every 2 weeks now is that there's just like a plethora of crap to talk about, you know, so it just feels like word vomit nonstop. But we got good things to talk about. So I'm going to let you bring up topics that you want to bring up, and we'll just kind of just kick it all around. But before we do, I want to introduce one of my guys from the other side of this. You know, we talk Knicks, we talk whiskey, and a lot of times I'm the one kind of doing the educating on the whiskey for our viewers. But I want to start bringing in more whiskey heads. And so there's a guy by the name of Tony Adams that, you know, I connected with through social media. We started following each other, rocking with what, you know, one another were doing. Loved his takes, you know, and kind of had a very similar palette. Like he likes a lot of the things that I did. And so I started following him and following his podcast called A Steady Pour, and supporting him and all his guys. And he's a basketball head. But he's a weird basketball head. All right. So he's got something called like, this is my team and this is my team and a half. So he's from New York, you know, so he's got very understanding of the Knicks and follows the Knicks and what they're doing. But at his roots, he is a Golden State Warrior fan. I know, boo. I wish I had Eru here with the sound machine to kind of boo him. So we're gonna talk a little with him about that first Golden State game that we had and the upcoming Golden State one, and what his views are as someone who knows the Knicks well. They're not like his team, but he follows them and what he sees as, someone from the enemy territory. And we're going to talk whiskey because he's actually the one who gave me a sample of the bottle that I initially, was wanting to try. And he gave it to me in a sample. And within 3 days of tasting the sample, I traded 2 bottles, to try to get this one. And now it's in my hand. So we're going to talk about that one. But since Apollo still hasn't sent me his sample bottles back, he doesn't get to try it. So
hold on. I knew you were gonna bring this up today. I swear I knew. That box has been in my truck for the past 3 weeks. I'm terrible, bro. I kid you not.
You are absolutely horrible. You're horrible.
The post office is right next to my job. I'll be busy throughout the day, but I promise
there's like a box of liquid ministry that I'm trying to just send you freaking 12 to 16 free samples of whiskey that is very, very hard to find. And you're like, oh, I'll get to it. I don't get it.
Nah, bro. I swear. You know what? I'll send it out tomorrow. You got it. I'll send you the receipt tomorrow. I'll send it out.
Everyone
tomorrow.
Listen, he says he's going to send it tomorrow. So in 2 weeks when we have our show and he's still not sipping on any whiskey, you know that he was full of crap. All right. So without further ado, this is my guy, Tony Adams. What up?
You, what's up? I know you call me the enemy, man, but I do appreciate the Knicks. I've lived on the East Coast for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate y'all having me on, man. This is a dope thing you guys are doing, man. I've checked out your shows, and I had to come on for my guy Phil, man. So
appreciate you, bro.
What's going on?
Here's one of the best things about it is a steady pour is recorded. So if you say something stupid or you have to alter something, fix something, you can. Here, your stupidity is like live. So it's like
no edit button, right?
Yeah, you can't take that back. So,
all right, I'll try to remember that. Yeah.
So, but no, I appreciate y'all. I'm trying to see if there's a way to go live somehow. I don't understand how to do this. But
it says live on the upper left.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, streaming on.
Oh,
so
I
when we stream on Twitter, we have a huge Twitter following. So that kind of helps, with the audience and whatnot. Know that we are live. YouTube kind of sometimes will give notifications to people, sometimes it won't. It's one of those hit or miss kind of things when it comes to that. But we're just gonna rock, and if people wind up watching this on replay, gang, it is what it is. But we're just gonna get into it. So talk to me real quick, bro, before we get too deep into the topics. Like, how did your fandom start with Golden State?
So I'm from the Bay Area, which is, probably why that's my home team, man. I've just been rocking them forever. So the first memories I can remember of like really becoming a Warriors fan was back in like 92, 93.
Okay.
Like Run TMC, Don Nelson, Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullin, that whole squad, man. It was just like, they were exciting. They weren't the best team. They definitely didn't win as much as I wanted them to, but it was like just that brand of basketball and the passion and, running up and down the court. I was like, that's my squad, man. So, been rocking with them for a long time. You hear a lot of people saying, fair weather Warriors fan, and you just jumped on the bandwagon. I'm like, nah, bro. Early 90s, no, you're not going to tell me that. So, definitely experienced a lot of ups and downs, a lot of downs actually before the recent championship stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes it that much more satisfying for sure.
Yeah, and I love that because, like, personally, bro, one player that because I always liked Tim Hardaway. I thought he was a great player when he played in Miami and like everywhere. Like he was just a good player. But the player that always made me go, dang, was Chris Mullins. Like, I
New York
would
guy,
have
right?
loved I would have loved Mullins in a Nick jersey back in that
Yeah.
day, like, and it's funny for people that don't, have a long history of following Golden State, or watching the NBA in the 90s. You miss, the fact that he was like yells Steph Curry before,
Bowling.
Steph Curry,
Yep.
he was like your guy's 3-pointer guy.
Oh,
And he was just so good at everything he did, that it was just like, man, this guy is talented. This white boy can shoot. And so I was a huge fan of his. So I think that's awesome. I don't know where that feedback's coming from. You guys hear that?
I kind of hear it a little bit.
When I talk, it's like coming.
Yeah, I hear it. It might be feedback from Tony's.
Are you using the computer
mute.
mic, Tony?
I'm just on my phone right now. Let me see if I mute and see if that helps.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's coming through. You got ear pods or something like that?
Let me grab some real quick. Hold on.
All right, cool. So, yeah. So, I thought it was dope that, Tony was a Golden State fan, but like he gets to see it from, across the country, like our boy Swanee is a Knicks fan that's over there, but with Tony, he's a Golden State fan that's living in New York for a very, very long period of time. And so there's that connection, there's that connection of like, we were bad for so long, that now it's good to reap the rewards. Unfortunately, we haven't reached the pinnacle of success that they have. But like it's cool because I wanted to bring him on because he can relate with that. He can relate with being, a fan for a sucky team for a long time, and then starting to reap the benefits of that, which I love. Yeah, what's up? Welcome back, Tony.
Yo, is that better?
Yeah.
Definitely better. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So Tony, I was talking about how I love the fact that like, you are here on the East Coast. So you kind of see, Nick fandom and everything like that. You've been around it for so long. But just like we have suffered for so long, as Knicks fans, you guys suffered for really, really long. Like, unfortunately, we haven't had, Durant, Steph, and Clay to bring us any kind of chips. But we're starting to now see the upward spiral of our team. We're starting to now see the progression of being a Knick fan. Shout out to my guy JT Riddick in the building. I appreciate you, bro. Like I said, if you guys can hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, please give a retweet. For some reason, we didn't get told, but the Twitter streaming has been removed from our StreamYard, so we got to get that all fixed. So numbers will suffer a bit tonight, but we don't really care. We're gonna have fun and just talk Knicks. So Tony, talking about your fandom. How was it for you guys? Like as loyal fans to finally get to that point? Because here's one thing that like a lot of Knicks fans are kind of battling with each other is whether or not you stick with the old coach in Tom Thibodeau. And me personally, I feel like Tom Thibodeau is your guy's Mark Jackson, that he was there. He did great things. He revived the culture of where you guys were. But you guys needed something new. You guys needed some fresh eyes. You guys needed, someone else to take you to that, paradise, take you guys to that championship. And that was Steve Kerr. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, how many, coaches that don't have experience, can do something great? And I'm like, bro, Golden State's the perfect example for that. So when you guys had that transition as an insider, was there a lot of the fan base that was like split on whether or not that was a good move? Or like, was there a lot of pushback for, the fan base that like, what are you doing? You're taking away our coach?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there was a lot of people who said that was a mistake, even some of the players, like when they asked all the players, at Steph and, I'm trying to remember who else was on the team now that was like super advocating for Mark Jackson. Like a lot of the guys on the squad were like, don't let him go. That's our coach because, oh shoot, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
because he did instill a lot of the things that were built on basically to take us to that next level. And then when Steve Kerr came in, even myself as a fan, I knew Steve Kerr's history. He had never coached before, so you never know how that's going to go. But I thought that he could bring some new things to our offense, which at the time was my biggest complaint. Like our defense was solid, but the offense was very one-dimensional, very, pick and roll heavy. Basically just Steph handling all the time, and he was getting worn out because there wasn't enough movement.
Hmm.
So, that's it. Almost instantaneously, as soon as Steve Kerr came in, all that stuff changed. You had a lot more ball movement, cutting, screening, just like it just changed. It opened everything up.
Mhm.
But I think there is something to giving Mark Jackson his credit, because without building that defensive foundation and kind of he built the chemistry up to the point where it was where we were just needed one more step to take us up. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Man, I love that because like at the end of the day, that's how we feel as Knicks fans,
yeah,
some of us at least. We
Yeah.
had really good conversation with the rest of our Nick of Time family a few weeks ago. Shout out to my guy Fritz in the building, where we were talking about like it's not hate, like he's
yeah,
brought us into an era of Knicks basketball that we haven't seen since the 90s when it comes to success. But he's never gotten to that next level in his whole like coaching career. Like, and we're seeing a lot of the same things that we've wanted to see changed over the the last few years with him. So we're just like, has he reached his limit? Like it's not that he's a bad coach, he's a good coach, but it's once you need to get further than where that person can get you, like why wait? So for me, I'm waiting on our Steve Kerr. I'm waiting on that. What are your thoughts, Apollo?
I said it before here. No disrespect to Tibbs at all. I've always felt from the moment he was signed that he was that Mark Jackson kind of guy, and that's not like a slight to him. It's just I there were things that a culture needed to be developed, and I think that's exactly what Mark Jackson did over there in Golden State. He established a culture. Now, I do remember there were some things about him not necessarily running plays, and they wanted him to hire another like offensive coordinator kind of coach kind of guy. And
Yep.
it's ironic how similar that sounds to exactly what we're dealing with right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they I've always felt like this team needed to have someone to establish a culture and understood that it might not be the same guy that brings us to a championship.
Mm.
So, if let's just say if things happen where Tibbs isn't here anymore and then someone else comes in, I won't be like, oh, I'm glad Tibbs is gone, because there will be an adjustment. We don't have a Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Like that's also like an otherworldly kind of guy to have. We
Yeah.
do have a Jalen Brunson he's pretty good. He's pretty damn good. I'm
yeah.
not gonna knock on Jalen at all. It's just Steph Curry is just he's in a class of his own sometimes.
Mhm.
So I mean, when you talk about a team that has guys like Jalen, and then you have a Cat, and then you have all of the guys that we have in terms of Mikal, OG, Mitch. Now, I think there can be somebody out there that can help us run a little bit more modern, updated kind of offense, because I feel like that's where we lack, is when we don't have a ball handler. There's no real like creation. Now, last night it was good to see some of that without Jalen there. But it doesn't happen when Jalen's there. It's like the ball goes to Jalen, and that's pretty much it. No one else can really get a bucket for themselves. So I mean,
Yeah.
hope we can see some kind of change there. But if not, then we see how this goes.
Yeah, and it's weird because we did see, what some kind of ball movement could look like
Mhm.
last night, and you liked it. But you're also like, Well, if Jalen wasn't there, we probably wouldn't. If Jalen was there, we probably wouldn't have been in overtime and in the position that we were in last night. So it's like it's a catch-22. It's like, why can't we have both? And that's where the fan base is like, oh, Mikal's not going to do this on a regular night. And you're like, of course, Mikal's not going to get 20 shots on a regular night because Jalen Brunson's got the ball and Karl Anthony Towns got the ball. And then Josh Hart is shooting a bit. And then Miles McBride, so it's like the only way Mikal gets those kind of shots is if it goes back to him coming in for a majority of those, bench minutes, and playing with the bench, which he hasn't been doing very often. So it's the catch-22, but who makes those changes? The coach. Like you're saying about Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr came in with a pretty similar roster to what Mark Jackson had, and he just said, oh, there's better ways to do this with this roster. We need to try something new. And that was the key word for me, was trying something new, because that's where we're falling short, is that we're not trying a bunch of new things. We're just hoping the old things, continue. And sometimes that's just not going to work. So as someone who's, able to see Knicks culture and everything like that, and you're in the city, and you've seen where the Knicks have gone. What are your honest thoughts of the New York Knicks this year? Because you got some people that are like, yo, this is our year. And then some that are like, yo, slow down, Poppy. We still got some time. Then some that are just like, yo, y'all are fake contenders. You're just putting Maybelline on some like damaged skin and hoping, that people don't notice. So what are your honest thoughts on the New York Knicks this year?
I like the Knicks a lot, man. I really do. I'm a big fan of how it's been built. This iteration of the Knicks, I know, in the past, kind of some of the Dolan Knicks teams, you could just tell it was, them trying to save money and, you know, it, I don't know. In the past, it was just too much meddling from above. And I feel like the iteration of the Knicks that are playing now, everybody seems bought in. I really like the star players that you have, the pieces built around it. Like, it's a really nice mix. Um, I think the biggest problem right now in the East, honestly, is that you have an all-world team in Boston, and Cleveland might even be better than them this year. So it's tough, man. I mean, in the Western Conference, I would say there's a lot more parity right now. I mean, you have teams that are very good out there, but I don't think there's that top-heavy kind of like you just kind of know the teams that are going to be there at the end of the day. At least with how things have gone this year and where the East is at. So it's a tough spot to be in. But I do really like their composition. I feel like maybe they could tweak the roster a little bit more. But I think it's more of a kind of coaching, maybe the minutes thing. Maybe Mikal has a point. I know we haven't gotten into that too much, but I know you knew that was going to come to a head at some point, right? That's Thibodeau, man. This is what he does. And I think Mikal has a point. So I don't know how that's going to resolve from here, but that's definitely an issue that they're going to have to work out.
And this is why I'm really interested in switching, how we do things and continuing to have people from other fan bases come and talk their talk, as their views of New York, because a lot of the fan base, when you talk about the Mikal minutes, or you talk about Tibbs and injury, or you talk about, Tibbs's way of not, being willing to switch things up, those who are so pro Tibbs will argue and argue and argue that it's just, certain like close-minded, like ungrateful Knicks fans that have these kind of takes. But when you're hearing it from the words and the mouth of people that aren't even part of your fan base, they're just watching your team and they're seeing what's going on, and they're able to say, hey, yeah, your coach doesn't really try stuff. Like, of course it was going to come down to, minutes and injury and pain, because that's the Tom Thibodeau way. That's reaffirming for me, to be able to be like, look, it's not just me. It's not just Apollo. It's not just Eru or Lee or Ebony or Jay or Fritz who are feeling this way. Like, the other teams are seeing it and knowing it's true. So it's those who refuse to acknowledge it as truth within the fan base that are more so the delusional ones than the ones who are speaking out about it. So I love that. I love being able to have you on and other teams in the future to kind of get that perspective of how they see the Knicks. And it's true, with Boston and Cleveland, it's crazy. And how did that happen?
He's in the Matrix. He'll be back in a second.
Froze up.
What?
There he is.
All right.
He's
So,
back.
and you're right about Cleveland and Boston being who they are, but that didn't happen overnight. Like, they had that coach that got them to where they were, and then the coach switched, and all of a sudden something new triggered something in that same team and is taking them to where we really wish we were at right now. So I love that. I love that you're able to give your perspective and we're able to line up with that in an essence, because there's games where you can look and go, dang, we're not there yet, unfortunately. Like that game against you guys, the other day. Let's pull that up.
A tale of two halves.
Yeah. So let me pull up that game. What day was that? Y'all remember?
It was
in the middle of the week last week, right? Tuesday, maybe.
Now I gotta double check. Hold on. We played them. I would say Thursday. It might have been like.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So Tuesday of last week, and it was just like you guys still have some of that championship DNA. Even though, you guys haven't won in a few years, you guys still have that championship DNA within you guys where you guys can pull it out and still get that victory. And we're still struggling with that. Like, we're still trying to figure out how to make that happen. And when you look at it, you guys had 1, 2, 3.
There was also no cat in that game. That was a big.
Yeah.
I think that kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
But I did notice how it was easy for them to like flip a switch, even though Jimmy's only been there at that point like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they were able to just flip a switch and play a completely different game and be on all on the same page. So, and that's part of coaching too. It's both. It's not just the players, but but go ahead, Phil. I know you were saying something.
Yeah, no, but when you look at it, I think what Golden State has that I wish that we did. My guy Prezi in the building, bro. We're gonna talk real good whiskey in just a few minutes, Prezi. So stay tuned. That's my whiskey head that comes every single week.
Nice.
I love that dude. Here's the thing that Golden State has that I wish we did. Golden State has their guys, but they're always getting new guys that are able to learn from Steph and able to learn from what he's doing, and they start building a rapport for themselves. Like, you look at Jordan Poole when he was with you guys, he was elite. Like, everyone wanted Jordan Poole at that time. It wasn't until he ran his mouth and got punched in the face by Draymond that things changed. But when he was playing along Steph and learning from Steph and Clay, like, he became a player of contention overnight. He became someone that you wanted on your squad, and look now, you guys got that young dude, Brandon Podziemski, whatever.
Podziemski, yeah.
I can't say his name, but that kid can ball.
Yeah, we just call him Pods because I don't really know how to say his name.
And Pods is learning from Steph.
Yeah.
Podziemski or something like that.
Yeah. That's
like, he's learning, and that's what I like is that, if Steph has to be out, or if, one day Steph, hangs it up, you guys are building something that's going to have players that have that experience already playing alongside one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But you look at us and we got guys that are young with potential. They're never going to develop under Tibbs. Like, you get the rare few like Miles McBride that got his chance, but you look at it and you go, holy crap. And I'm not a play the kids nonstop kind of guy. But I do want to see the kids get shots, see what these kids have. Like, breaks my heart to go, holy crap, I really liked Quentin Grimes and felt like he crumbled under the weight of a Tom Thibodeau system. And everyone's like, nah, he's a bum, he's a bum, he's a bum. And now here he is getting a chance in Philly. And last 3 games, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 35 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 25 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, and he's playing with grit, you know.
And a
So
44-point
he
game
lit us
last
up
week.
for 44. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
44-point game last week.
You
Yeah.
know,
right before we played y'all, I think, man, that was
Mhm.
crazy. I was like,
Mhm.
yo, because I remember him on the Knicks. I liked him, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I see what Grimes could have been, you know, and now he's coming into that under a different organization, and that's one thing that I don't really like. So from what you've seen in your guys' transformation, what do you think is the missing piece for the Knicks?
I mean, if you talk about from a roster standpoint, they could probably use maybe a glue guy. I'm just thinking of someone that would connect both of those units, right? Some of like the bench units where you come in, because I think your starting five is great. You know, like your starters when you know you got Brenson, you got Cat, you got all the guys, man. You guys really go, but it's those in between minutes, right? Because you have to rest them at some point. I know for Tibbs it's not very long, but they do have to rest for some point. So it's kind of building up those bench units to be consistent, which is honestly that's hard for every team, man. And it's something that we have had a hard time in Golden State with as well.
Yeah,
You know, our starters minutes would be really good, and then Steph would go out of the game, and you would just see that lead dwindle, or you know, he'd be down 10 points when he came back in. So
yeah,
um, it's hard to figure that out and stagger those minutes. But like I said, I think that's just something that either Tibbs or whoever else they're going to bring in is going to have to kind of look at that roster balance and say we need to have it with a little bit more punch for when you know Brunson is out.
yeah,
It's very similar to Steph in that way to me, like the
yeah.
Brunson minutes when Brunson's off the court. You know, it can be a struggle sometimes. So
So here's what I'll say, and then I'm gonna throw it to Apollo and get his thoughts on what you just said. But if you get last year, before he got moved into the starting unit, that connection was Dante DiVincenzo. Like
mm,
he was that guy. And then when he went into the starting unit, Josh Hart was that guy, you know, that can come in and kind of be your glue guy off the bench, give you that hustle off the bench and create opportunities for your other guys because your other guys are good, but they don't create their own
yeah,
buckets, you know. When we moved Josh Hart into the starting lineup, I feel like we lost that, you know. Um,
he was that
because
piece.
we don't really have that guy. Campaign is good, but he's not that guy.
Right.
Shamit is good, but he's not that guy. Miles McBride is awesome, but he's not that guy. You know, that is going to be that missing piece to hold everything together while Brunson's taking some like downtime, you know? And so that's why I'm like, dang, let's hurry up and get Mitch, you know, healthier so he can be in that starting lineup. Cat can go to the 4 and Josh can come back, you know, off of our bench
Yeah.
and be that for us again. So what are your thoughts, Apollo?
I mean, that's what I've been wanting for a long time. I think Josh does really well, but even in last night's game, you could see at certain points the Blazers just absolutely did not guard him. They completely left him open, and in that lineup, especially without Brunson, you, you need as much space as possible. You know what I mean? So, just to have another guy who can deliver some sort of, and now don't get me wrong, no matter what the starting lineup or the bench unit looks like, Josh Hart will be in at the end of the game, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
He's going to be playing, and that's just because he's earned the trust. And I mean, to be honest, I don't want many other guys in there outside of Josh, but I did notice him taking more shots last night. You know what I mean, while he was open, which is what he needs to do more often. But I think what happens is When they completely leave him open, it makes him think, and that's why he misses.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, if you're gonna like halfway guard him, he'll be like, all right, you're not gonna guard me, pull up. But then when they like completely leave him, like, there were some times where like they walked away from Josh, and Josh head faked, and he looked for somebody to pass it to, and then got the ball back so he could dribble again.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we just need somebody else. Because my thing is, I don't mind, and I'm not trying to crap on Josh at all. He's my favorite Knick. I've said it multiple times. So that's just, there's nothing, don't need to talk about that. But there needs to be somebody else who can go get a bucket, especially on the bench, that we can trust. You know what I mean? Like you said, Deuce isn't that guy. Cam isn't that guy. Shamit's been doing a lot better recently, but he's also not that guy. So we just need one more piece on the bench that I think might help things out a little bit. And I guess we can talk about that later, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Tibbs does with the Mitch and Cat thing, because I don't know, they haven't really played a lot of minutes together at all. I'm looking to see what that does to the lineup and how that changes things and who he can swap out for that. And maybe that changes things, and that can help us a little bit, but neither here nor there. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Well, here's the one thing about Josh Hart, because I like Hart. I think he's one of the best like Swiss Army knives in the league. Like, everybody would dream of having that kind of guy. But certain moments, is just like, come on. Like last night, almost costing us the game by running, down the sideline before passing the ball in. Like, that's just, I don't understand. Like, momentary lapses of judgment, where it's like, you're overthinking instead of just knowing what you're going to do, like having that confidence in yourself. You saw that like panic of like, all right, I got to find something. We don't have any more, this is our last time out, and so that was just a very weird moment. But I just feel like Josh thrives more so off the bench. Like, I just feel like he does, because he's got that confidence and he's got that way of actually leading a squad. Like, it's weird to see a guy of like that's not really even your, top four guys being someone that can really, really lead the offense. But he can, like he's really good at that. And I think he leads the offense better than anyone who is on the bench right now. So that's why I'm hoping for that change. That's why I'm hoping to get Mitch into that position. I see a lot of people that are like, yo, trade. Let's be real. There's no trades that are happening. If you look at what Dolan said on the podcast, like Dolan was talking about like, this is our team, this is going to be our team for many seasons, and that, the front office has done a really great job finding the right pieces and getting those pieces, and that this is not going to be, a one and done season. This is going to be something that you're going to see for seasons to come. So I wouldn't expect any trades to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if anything happens, it'll be like small pieces here and there. But I don't think it's going to happen. I also think when you're talking about Josh Hart's confidence, I really think that having PJ Tucker on the bench really helps. Like, that camaraderie and the nonstop support that PJ Tucker gives to these guys, like, it's like having a friend from the block, like being able to travel everywhere with you. It's kind of like when rappers, finally make it big, and they get their deal. Like, it's always their homie that's in that video. It's like, who is that one guy that's in every video? Who's that one guy that you see at every concert? Like, where is that? Who is that dude? And it's just that childhood friend that's there, to support. And so you see how he reacts. You see how these guys are pointing to PJ Tucker now if they make a 3-pointer. He's bringing something out of these guys, which I really like, and I'm glad to see that. I think that was a great 10-day signing. I hope it lasts throughout the playoffs. I hope we renew it because that kind of camaraderie is important when it comes to that. Like every team has had that. You look at who was it? Hassan Whiteside, was it? No, you Haslam. Who was it for the Heat?
Miami. Yeah, Haslam.
Yeah, Haslam.
They both which one?
Yeah, but Haslam was there way into his older years, even when he wasn't playing anymore, just because he was that guy, that he was that locker room presence that they didn't want to do without. I feel like PJ Tucker could be that, and we don't have that. We have a whole bunch of rookies who aren't getting any minutes, and that's what's on our bench. So to have an actual vet that, is pouring into our guys or speaking confidence into our guys, I think that would be dope.
Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
My bad. I did mention a long time ago, I said I can't wait until we get our vets because that's what we've been missing. Yep. Like it's a bunch of guys, they're all cool, they can all talk to each other, but there's no one that steps in and says, all right, y'all, you're bullshitting right now. You know what I mean? Like there's not that guy, there wasn't that guy there. So having PJ Tucker there, it's like he was the perfect player for what we needed. We might not need him to play a lot, which is cool. Honestly, I think he's more beneficial to the locker room than he is to play on the court at this moment, because also he hasn't played in like a year, you know what I mean? So he might need to get back, into shape and stuff like that. But he's just like the perfect guy to get in your ear and make you believe. Like he was even saying it in one of his intro interviews. He was like, like to get in Mikal's ear and let him know, like, these are good shots. Keep taking them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you're missing them, just take these shots. And that's what we're missing. And, to bring Golden State into it, that's kind of what took them to the next level. The Sean Livingstons of the world, the Andre Iguodala's of the world. So
yeah, David West, all these dudes. Yeah,
right. You gotta have vets, the guys that tell you, like, listen, that was a good shot. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about missing it. Don't let the moment be too big for you. Just keep doing what you're doing, and that's exactly what the kind of player that PJ Tucker is.
Yeah, and one thing is, like, I don't care if PJ Tucker doesn't play a single minute in a Knicks jersey. Like at the end of the day, there's a lot of players that Tom Thibodeau is not going to play. But it is what it is. And if he's not playing some of these rookies who have younger legs and probably could even put up more numbers than PJ Tucker could, at this age in his career, I'm okay with PJ not getting minutes. But like you said, I think being that presence, being that voice, that you need, even when, Vince Carter started getting older, and he's in his last, season with the Raptors. Last season with the Hawks, he was still a valuable piece because of who he was and what he, would speak into the lives of the young guys. So I think that's so important, is to focus on having a guy that could be that. Shout out to my guy, Fritz. Seriously, the best moderator in the freaking biz. Shout out to him for always being in the chat, always supported, always helping. So real quick, I got my guy Tony for about 15 more minutes. So what I want to do is get a little bit of a pour of whiskey in here. And then we will talk about this upcoming game on Saturday and what his thoughts are. So I was up in the city a few weeks ago for, my guy Tony's watch party. And I met up with Tony in Jersey to pick up some rare whiskey there. And he brought me like 4 dope samples. And one of them was from, if you follow the show, my favorite brand, Rare Character. And so they have a release called Fortuna that they put out. And then they put out a Fortuna, which is a more limited special release. This one's a little bit costly. I know some of y'all are like, dang, $75. No, this is a little more. This will kind of break your bank a little bit. So this one was like, what, 2? Was this 2 bills?
No, I think so. I think MSRP is a little bit less on it. It depends on where you get
I know
it,
on Sealbach it was 2.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
On the Sealbach website, it was 2 for the But it might be like 149 or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think that's what I paid for it.
But yeah, so this right here is called Fortuna, and it's Summer's Cut. And this is what the bottle looks like right there. Boom, by my squad rare character. All right. And it is delicious, bro. Like, it is absolutely delicious. It's 121.3 proof. It's a bourbon, and most of the things you'll taste are like dark chocolate, some caramel, some vanilla, the toasted oak that I like. So we'll get a little pour in, and then I want Tony to kind of give me what's on his palate with this fine little bourbon right here. So cheers to you, my guy.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
I hope you guys suck. And if you see, I apologize. I'm drinking out of an old elk glass, so I don't know if that's blasphemous. Put in rare character in a old elk, but here we go. Let's see.
I got my Knicks glass.
You all good. There you go.
What's crazy, bro, is it smells good, but it smells so light compared to the flavors that you get. Like, it just smells mad chill, but when you drink it, it's just like, what the frick,
Especially for the proof. Yeah, you would think it'd have a lot more heat on it. But
exactly. So, and
I wish I was
that's
drinking what you guys are drinking.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
You know where your sample is? It's in your trunk.
All right. You got me.
So for y'all that aren't full on like whiskey drinkers, this is a higher proof, so to avoid burn and stuff like that, you always put just a little taste on your lips, a little taste in your mouth, let it soak your tongue a little bit before you actually take a sip. That'll make it a lot easier. Like we've said before, exhale completely. Get that air out of your lungs so that when you drink it, it's not boom, heat to your chest. You won't feel that heat when you drink it correctly. So here we go.
Oh yeah,
That's delicious,
really
bro. That's delicious.
Yeah, I don't. Phil, you had the regular Fortuna, right?
What was that?
You had the original Fortuna, right? Just
Yeah,
like
the
Fortuna
regular
by
one.
itself. Yeah, the gray
Yeah.
label.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big fan of that one too. Um, on that, and that was a lower proof. I think that was around 100 proof, I want to say, on that one.
Yeah.
But I feel like the barrel proof versions of it just bring out so much more complexity and like a lot more of the flavors that you were getting on the original Fortuna. Um, it's like a just a meatier version of that original
Yeah.
joint. So
So
I get a lot of like cinnamon and
bro,
like baking spices.
it's funny because none of the reviews, like when like Sealbox and all them put it out, said anything about cinnamon. But like when I sip it, I get like, if I was chilling on a winter night with a cup of like cinnamon toast crunch
Oh
outside,
yeah.
like just chilling, like that is one of the first things I tasted immediately. But
Hmm.
before I have you go in with more of your,
Oh yeah.
tasting notes, some of the people on the show aren't full on whiskey drinkers. So explain to them what barrel proof is. I've talked about it on other shows, but it's cool to hear, other people give breakdowns.
Yeah, so barrel proof is basically they're not watering it down at all. So, it's what's going into the barrel and basically the proof that you're getting it out at. It depends on what barrel it is and how much condensation and everything kind of came out of the barrel, but they're not proofing it down at all. Basically, they're not adding any water to it to give it any to bring it down to a lower level. So,
Yeah.
kind of straight from the barrel.
Yeah. So when you read the alcohol by volume, when you multiply that, that is your proof.
Right.
And so a lot of whiskeys, they'll drink it once they taste that batch of bourbon or rye or wheated or whatever. They'll taste it and they'll go, "Ooh, it's a little too much,
Yeah.
for our fan base. It's a little too much for the kind of things that we put out. It's good, but it doesn't fall into that same palette group that we're known for putting out. So what they'll do is they'll add a little bit of water to these barrels to kind of make sure that like it doesn't, kick the teeth in of their fan base that's used to something a little bit lighter. So when it's barrel proof, it's like how it came out after aging is how it's getting bottled. Like there's no tampering, there's no lowering it. It came out what they thought was perfect for what they wanted to release. So this one's a barrel proof, and I'm so glad they didn't tamper it at all because it's delicious. So yeah, you can go on with your notes.
Yeah. So I mean, like we were saying, I get a lot of cinnamon. I don't know what they were talking about in their tasting notes, but I mean, there's other notes as well, but the cinnamon's heavy. I also get more than the regular Fortuna, which is it's kind of weird. I get more like creaminess and kind of like a more I don't know how to describe it. It's just a more robust kind of uh, dare I say like smoother almost. Now I hate that word. We don't really use smooth in whiskey, but
I would say yes, because it's weird because sometimes you'll get whiskeys that taste creamy, but they also feel like it's got a like thickness to it.
and oh
But
yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
but this right here, it just feels like it's creamy in all the best ways. It's
Yeah.
like when you add ice cream to a cocktail or a root beer or something like that, and it's like, yo, it's got all the other flavors, but it's got that thick, smoothness in that. And that's where I get a little bit of the vanilla as well, is I feel like that
Yeah.
cream is also like very vanilla like. So it's like when you go to hotels and they got those like little cream like things that you can pop open and throw into your coffee because you're like, hotel coffee's trash, give me like 12 of these, and you're just trying to like pour those vanillas in so that you can like stomach that coffee. It's like that, the vanilla kind of sticks out in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
then there's also some
absolutely
like
delicious.
lingering like fruit notes in there, some like dark berry and yeah, there's just a lot of layers underneath it. Like I said, you're getting mostly that cinnamon, the vanilla, the kind of baking spices, but like if you really like let it linger out, you're kind of getting like a whole array of other things underneath it too. So, and
Yeah,
this is 8 years old, so that 8 summers old, that's just their way of saying it's an eight
yeah,
year old barrel, whereas the regular Fortuna barrel proof, which also had the blue label, I think that one was only 4 or 5 years.
yeah,
So I think the extra couple years in the barrel, you can definitely tell like it just gave it just a more uh, complex kind of. It just had extra time to marinate basically,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
could taste that in the
Is that
German.
the rare character one?
yep,
I'm looking at it now. Okay, cool.
yep.
Yeah. So this is Rare Character does a lot of single barrels. Like that's mostly what they're known for is they do single barrel picks for like stores or groups who want to do a barrel pick. But Fortuna was like the first product they did that was like a batched product. So
Hmm.
you can find it in basically like ABC stores. You can
Yeah.
find it most everywhere.
Okay.
The barrel proof a little bit less than the regular Fortuna, but it's definitely out there more than you would find like a store pick, um,
Okay.
a specific store pick you were looking for.
Hmm.
Comments like these, Prezi.
Just need to
Yo,
get you a bottle. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
I was just looking at it just now. I'm like, okay, $1.20.
I'm
Okay.
in love with a Prezi. Nah, Prezi. Shoot me a message on Instagram, bro, and I got you with a sample, bro.
That's
So
what it's
all right,
about, man.
so Tony's getting ready to hop off because he's got life to attend to. But we're playing Golden State on Saturday. Next game, what are your thoughts like with how you guys are playing? We're playing. You guys are playing.
Yo, hold on. You Matrix.
Uh,
You're
Getting
Neo in the
robotic, bro.
Matrix. Neo in the Matrix right now. Phil. Oh, hold on.
Oh,
I think you were
hello,
trying to.
hello.
There you go.
Oh,
There you
hey,
go.
we hear
There
you
you go.
now.
Oh,
There you go.
dang, bro. So with us playing you guys Saturday, you guys have a game tonight, against the Kings. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping you guys get beat up a little bit. But we play you guys on Saturday. What are your thoughts with that? We're number 3 in the East. Where are you guys at, like 10th or something?
Nah, bro, 10th.
No, they're
Well,
like six. They're like six.
yeah, we're 6 now. I mean,
Oh, you
six
now? Okay.
through like 6 through 9 is all bunched up, man. And even four
Yeah,
and
I'm
five
at
are
it.
like
Yeah.
not that far away. Yeah, everything's pretty close. But no, man, I think it's gonna be another good game, man. Honestly, I think our teams match up like really well against each other. I don't think you're gonna get a blowout one way or the other. Um, we've been playing pretty good, I would say. I think they've been talking about. I think we're what 10-1 with Jimmy in the lineup since he got here, something like that.
Wow.
I don't know if we've been. I don't know if we've been that good. I think we've had a couple of lucky wins and just some things going our way. But um, I would say I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Warriors might edge it out just because we're at home. Um, and you guys don't have a game tomorrow, right? It's not a back-to-back.
No.
No.
Okay. So both teams would be rested, man. I would say maybe the Warriors would edge it out, but um, I don't know. Brunson's still going to be out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's tough. That's a
He's
tough.
out about another week. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Um,
You can be honest if you think
You
you're
can be
taking the
honest.
W.
Brunson's
You
not
don't have,
I
there.
you don't have to
Aaron got a
sugarcoat
chance.
it.
yeah. I mean, I would say if Brunson was there, I would say it would be a real close game, and it would be like it
Mm.
could go right down to the wire. I just think that you guys have we're getting healthier. Like we're supposed to get Kuminga back tonight. I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
know
Oh
who he
yeah, that's
is.
right. I
Yep.
did hear about that. Yeah.
Yep.
He's a real good young guy, bench guy that we've had. He's been injured since like January, so we're almost to the point where like fully healthy. So I think that the Warriors might pull it out, but I'm hoping for a good game for sure. I'm meeting up with a couple buddies who are Knicks fans here in Jersey, so we're gonna definitely check that out.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hate you because I think you might be right about where that's going. But one thing that, really irks me is knowing that Steph Curry has said many times that he thought that he was going to be a New York Knick. And
He wanted to
that
go there. Yeah.
he did. He thought that he was going to be drafted by the Knicks. His dad reached out to the Knicks to see about the interest that they had in him, and he ends up going one before the Knicks had a chance to draft him. Like, that is painful to think that we were one away and we drafted Jordan Hill instead. It is just painful. Like, it's very, very painful to know that that's our thing. But honestly, I'm also very thankful that you guys drafted him because the Knicks have done many stupid things
Oh yes.
in
Mm.
drafting horrible players before good players. So I feel like it would have been something like you guys didn't, go for him, and then we passed him up, and then like Toronto grabbed him right after us, like something stupid like that would have
Yeah.
happened.
I feel
So
like we would have drafted him, but then with the ankle injuries, we would have probably traded him like dummies.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I always felt like he dodged the bullet. As much as I wanted him as a Knick at that time, this franchise was in shambles. I'm just being honest. They
Yeah.
just were.
A lot of people wanted to trade him.
yep.
Like when he had the ankle stuff, and it was kind of like it was him and Monte there at the same time. Monte
Mhm.
Ellis, I don't know if you guys remember him.
Yeah, I remember.
It
Yep.
was this battle within the organization of like, do we cut bait on Curry and just like, because Monte was already like an established star.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I knew when Steph came in and like I saw him play a little bit, I was like, this dude is special.
Mm-hmm.
But those ankles, man, it looked like he just might not ever realize it, man. Because he would literally hurt his ankle, felt like every other game, man.
Mm.
So to see like where he got to now it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the last thing I'll say to you is Draymond Green's a punk, and I hope that we punk him. I hope that I hope on Saturday Karl Anthony Towns knocks him on his behind and stands over him in pure dominance and shows how much of a pansy he really is. And yeah, so he sucks. Let him know.
You know what's funny, man? I've spoken to so many people about this. People who are not like on the Warriors fans or like haven't rocked with the team hate Draymond Green. I completely get it. I would hate him if he was on another team. Like and there are times he's on the team that I rock with, and I'm just like this guy, man. But like he's been so integral to what we have built defensively, like. And I've had these discussions too. And a lot of people, don't want to give him as much credit as I do. I really think he's a foundational defensive piece, and that we wouldn't have won the titles we have without him. So that's not to say that he's that everything he's done has been right, and punching people in the face, and he's done so many different things that I just shake my head at. But at the end of the day, like. I feel like we're gonna ride with him until the wheels fall off. At this point.
Yeah.
So.
He's a great defender. He's still a punk, and he runs his mouth. And eventually, he's gonna find out that his old behind can't back it up. And I hope that Saturday is one of those times, because now that PJ Tucker's on the bench,
he might not talk trash to him.
I think if Towns wants to make a point, he's got more than good enough ammunition with PJ Tucker on the bench to back him up. So do me a favor, tell your boy Draymond that his podcast sucks. He should shut it down. It's not good. No one likes it. Like that's one of those things.
I got you, bro. I'm gonna put a bug in his ear. I'm gonna let him know.
Let him know. But I appreciate you, Tony. Cheers.
I appreciate y'all, man.
And we'll get you on again later on in the season.
Sorry I couldn't hang out longer, but we gotta do it again, man.
We definitely will, bro. Appreciate you, bro.
Right,
let everyone know how they can follow you on Instagram.
Oh yeah. So my personal Instagram is tadams1080. But I'm also part of a Steady Poor podcast. So if you follow us on IG, it's a Steady Poor podcast, and we're also we're on all the platforms on YouTube. Trying to get up to where you guys are, man. But we're doing our thing, man. We have a good time. We do a lot of whiskey stuff like we did here, picking out a bottle, reviewing it. We also talk to people in the industry, distillers, people who are on the ground in these spots, some spirits influencers, just trying to have a good time. So,
yeah.
But
so y'all see, I put it in the chat. Follow my guy Tony. You'll see a Steady Pour down there. Just dudes from the city who know whiskey, who are just good dudes. And y'all see it first, because he told me about probably a year ago that I was going to be on the Steady Pour podcast. So here I am putting him on my platform way before he ever put me on his. So, it is what it is.
Let's go. Let's get you on, man. Let's do it. Let's do it live.
Let's do it, bro. I appreciate you, bro. And we will talk soon. All right.
Peace, man.
Out, bro.
Later.
My guy Fritz is in the building, so we're gonna bring him on up to the stage.
Yes,
what up?
Hey, what's up? What's going on?
What up, Fritz?
Chilling, bro.
I'm doing all right.
Good.
How's your night?
See.
Pretty good. Pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Quiet. Enjoying the conversation.
Yes,
well,
sir.
good. We got more convo to have, bro.
Got the mod boss in the building.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we got the Jalen Brunson injury. We got to pull that through. We got another week, of that, at least another week.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to talk about that. That ship has sailed. It sucks. It is what it is. But I want to talk about something that's got the fan base kind of split. It's this whole Mikal situation. Okay. And whether or not Mikal Bridges should have spoken out about, the minutes and how he feels, and saying that it was a team thing, that the team felt that way. The team wanted some of the young guys to get, shine. Some of the fan base is like pumped about it. Some of them are like, yo, that was so jacked up. Mikal shouldn't have done that. Wrong timing this, wrong timing that. And everyone's got an opinion. So I'm going to go on a soapbox real quick on my opinion, and then I want to hear your guys. Because a lot of people were in spaces yesterday that I hopped on and talking about how, you see what happens when someone talks out. You see what happened to Grimes. You saw what happened to Obi. You saw what happened to Reddish. You saw what happened apparently when Dante said he didn't want to come off the bench next year. And they're comparing that to what Mikal did. And that's just ignorant. That's just ignorant to me, because those aren't the same things at all. Because those guys were complaining about something that they personally wanted. Like, they wanted more minutes. They wanted more of a role. They wanted this. They wanted that. Mikal has everything that you would want. You put 5 picks out to get him. You're revolving a lot of your defense around him and OG. You're including him in the offense. So that is not the same thing in any way, shape, or form. This is the complete opposite. This is a guy who's not just saying, I want more, I want more, I want more. He's saying, I have all of this. All of the guys are exhausted, and we have really good talent on the bench. Why are we not utilizing these guys? Like, that is a completely different conversation than a give me more, and I'm going to speak out because I'm upset and bitter that I'm not getting my way. Like, this is a guy that has his way, that pretty much is smooth skating, that is saying there's something better we could be doing. So for me, Mikal speaking out about this says a lot of what we've been saying for years when it comes to Tom Thibodeau, about the minutes that he puts your players through, the injuries that you end up seeing. And people are like, oh, minutes police, minutes police, minutes police. Like, if the players aren't complaining about it, like, why are you acting like it's an issue? Well, now a player is speaking out about it, and you're still finding a way to justify Tom Thibodeau and the minutes and acting like Mikal speaking out of pocket. Like, you're saying that we can't be the voice piece for the players, but now the players are being a voice piece for themselves, and you still have an issue with it, and you still have a way to justify it. Like, that's crazy to me. And so for me, this is the perfect guy to say it. People are like, oh, Mikal shouldn't have done this. He's not the right guy to speak up. Well, why not? He's the guy that we went and got and is advertised in the league as an Iron Man who has played every single game of his career. So if the Iron Man is saying this is way too intensive when we have so many guys that can come on in and release us from some minutes so that we can then play better when we're in there, who better would you want than the guy who's known as an Iron Man? And if we remember, it was Julius Randle that we said was our, warrior, was our workhorse. And then he got injured and he wasn't that workhorse anymore. So do we want to wait till Iron Man, is at a point where it does cause an issue and he is hurt for him to then speak up? Or is this the perfect time to do it? To say, hey, we're exhausted. Like, we're putting a lot on us. We would play better if we had a few minutes less here and there. I think it's the perfect time. I think it's the perfect person to speak out about it. And so people are like, yo, Mikal spoke up. They're going to ship him out. No one's shipping out Mikal Bridges. Like, it's not happening. Like, you know how much of a red eye that would be to the front office if they shipped out Mikal Bridges for speaking up after they just gave away 5 picks of our future to get this guy. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. It would take such a red eye on such a black eye on the front office if they were to trade him and penalize him for actually speaking up. So I'm glad that he did. I'm glad that he spoke up. I'm glad people were like, yo, he should have waited till the season was over, should have waited till another, point in the season to talk about it. Not right now. And I also think that's wrong. And the reason is because if we achieve in the playoffs, it doesn't matter what Mikal says about minutes. because it's going to be overshadowed by how good we did and how great Tom Thibodeau did to take this team to that. So for me, all those things are important when it comes to the conversation. That's my rant. I spoke way too much, but I'm frustrated because it seems like everything that people have asked for us to do is to shut up about the minutes because the players aren't talking about it. We don't know what we're talking about. Now, when a player does, there's just more and more excuses, more goalposts moving. So what is your thoughts, Fritz, on this whole Mikal situation?
I think he had to. I think he was kind of forced to bring it up that way because it was going nowhere. Like, he's had the conversation. This is a core fundamental operation of Tibbs. Like, this is something he does. It's not something, he doesn't know. He knows he does it. And he's been approached about it, and he just doesn't care. Tibbs, the response by Tibbs probably was more alarming than what he said, because it was dismissive. It was like a dismissive comment. I can see, when you're trying to be nice, you have like a collaborative way of speaking. He's like, oh, you know what? Even if your answer is no, we'll talk about it and we'll get on the same page. Mm-hmm. That's how you do. When you say straight up no, facts are facts, that means I ain't changing. I'm the captain of the ship. You roll with it. So I think that was more of my concern than Mikal. I think it was set up by Jalen Brunson months ago when he got on his podcast talking about minutes. He says, we don't talk about that. We don't talk like that around here when it came about minutes, him and Josh. So, I mean, Jalen Brunson set the culture. You set the culture. And I think it came to a point where he had to say something.
And I'm completely with you. Here's the one thing about the Tibbs thing is people are like, even in the comments, and girl throws the coach under the bus, unnecessary distraction. I completely disagree. Like, and then you say he can speak up about it, but not to the media, period. Well, what makes us think that he hadn't had multiple conversations with the coach? Like, you think that a player just instantly is going to come out about it? You think that Mikal, who he's best friends with, Josh and Brunson, that they didn't know that he was going to at least consider talking about it to the media? Like, I don't think that this was a blindside on Mikal's part at all. I really don't. I think that this is something that he thought out, something that he tried to talk to the coach about multiple times. And I don't think, like anything else, Tibbs listens. Because like Fritz said, it's my way or the highway. And so what else do? You get asked an honest question, you give an honest answer. With the coach is supposed to be the one that sets the tone of covering your team. Like, you're going to call yourself the leader, the this, that, and whatever. Okay. You don't have to tell the media that you and him didn't have that conversation or whatever. Like, you have that conversation one-on-one with him. You figure it out. You work it out. I think that's on Tibbs's part. Like, as a player, you're asked a question about how you feel with the minutes that you are currently playing, and you gave an honest answer. I'm 100% sure, or at least 99% sure, that him and Tibbs at least knew that Mikal was feeling a certain way about the amount of minutes in the amount of games that he's been playing. I don't think that's a shocker. I think that Tibbs not covering him is the bigger issue than him not covering Tibbs, especially if you're the person that I'm supposed to follow going into the playoffs. You're the guy that's supposed to lead us. Well, lead by example, right? You don't do something, you didn't, I don't like how you talk to the media, so I'm going to talk to the media that same way and throw you back under the bus. That's not a leader in any way, shape, or form. And then last thing I'll say before throwing it to Apollo, I think it depends on your point of view over all situation. If you don't like the minutes, you're going to side with Mikal. No, That's not true, because it's not about what we think of the minutes. Like, we can think about what we want to think about with the minutes, but until Mikal voiced how he felt, it was all speculation. We were speculating how players felt about the minutes, or if minutes was an overkill and what Tibbs was doing. So we could have that agreement and disagreement on, if minutes is an issue before the player comes out and says minutes is an issue. Now it's a fact. Now it's something that's actually been spoken by the person who it's affecting. It affects Mikal way more than it does any of us on a podcast, whether or not he plays a ton of minutes. And he has spoken out saying it's an issue. So it's not, you can pick and choose if you want to side with Mikal or side with Tibbs. That doesn't matter. That's, to me, weird, because it's a truth for Mikal no matter what, that he's playing too many minutes. Like, whether you want to agree with him, thinking he's playing too many minutes or not, it's his truth. He's spoken it out. What are your thoughts, Apollo?
So I think it's I'm watching the chat. Picks for Timmy is really along the mindset that I have of this situation. Because I think a lot of it has a lot to do with the fact that it's less about the minutes he played. Because you got to think about it. He's the Iron Man. He's played a lot of minutes. He's played probably more minutes than a lot of people in this league, like the entire league.
Top in the whole league.
In the entire league. So I don't think it was about how many minutes he's playing. I think he is more concerned about getting his guys' minutes. You know what I mean? I think that's because he's been in situations deep in playoff runs where you know that you're going to need that 6th, 7th, 8th guy at some point. And if you don't give them the opportunity to play at all, when you need them, they won't be effective. And that's pretty much, I think, the gist of what he was kind of talking about, because even after the game, they said, you played 41 minutes now. How do you feel? He's like, I feel great. Very short answers. He's been straight to the point. I don't like to call myself like a psychiatrist or something, because I'm not. I'm way far from that. But I'd see his responses are a lot different than they were at a different part of the season when he was in a better mood. Recently, the past couple of weeks, his mood has been off. It's been off. Even when he responds, when he talks to guys. Now, people try to take it as, I felt like we as Knicks fans, we thought that he was upset at Knicks Twitter. And I don't think it was about Knicks Twitter. I think there might have been something going on behind closed doors that we didn't see. Come on, let's be honest. If Knicks Twitter is getting to a guy this much, he should not be here.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was a Knicks Twitter thing. I think something was going on behind closed doors. And if you voice, and now I think it's A Negro, I understand what you're saying. I think if he has come out, and we know Mikal has never been the kind of guy to talk about anything, especially to the media. If he came out at this point and said something, that proves to me that he's fed up. And there has been conversations behind closed doors. And Tibbs' response is proof that there was conversations behind closed doors, if you ask me. Because if you look at the response, he got very defensive immediately. The moment they asked him, he's like, the proofs and the numbers. And I'm like, oh, whoa. We just asked if there's a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, what was, there was no conversation. And so, and to touch on what Tibbs says, he's like, Cat, Brunson, they play a certain amount of minutes, and your wings play more because, you have to guard the Jaylen Browns and the Jason Tatums. Cool. Absolutely. So are you telling me that every single minute Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum play, you're going to have those guys in the court? Because to me, you're not giving other guys that are on the team an opportunity to learn how to guard these guys either. Like, this is not the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. We want to win these games, but you don't have to play your starters 48 minutes to win these games.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can try some things. You never know what you're going to get from a bench guy. A bench guy can come off the bench and want to play so much and been waiting for this moment and go off for 25, and you would never know because you don't play him. So I'm not here to say that Tibbs, it's all about the young guys, but I just think that there was a message behind what Mikal was saying that wasn't just about minutes. You know what I mean? Because, like he said after the game, play 41 minutes. I feel great. He doesn't have a problem playing those minutes. He never has, clearly. So I just think that, especially with PJ being on the team, there's some, I guess, added camaraderie in a way, like, a backing of someone who's on the team that actually has been in these kind of situations. Because I know for damn sure PJ has something to say. Tibbs better run, because PJ is gonna have whatever he has to say. He's not gonna hold it. You know what I mean? So I just think that personally, he wants other guys to play, and you see a lot of these guys sit on the bench and don't get these opportunities. And Tibbs does this thing where, even like I was talking to Toon earlier, Steven Toon, who's in the chat. I was talking to him earlier, and I said my problem isn't necessarily just about the minutes played, because sometimes you got to play guys minutes in different games. It depends, right? But what bothers me are the times when we're up by 20 and then you don't play the young guys. Because now, when the other team has their bench in and you still have your starters, I have to look at you like, all right, the other team clearly is waving the white flag, and you still got your starters out here. Now, less about the minutes they're playing, but more about, what about these other guys on the bench? This is why you have them. So when the games are out, like when there's no game left anymore, where basically it's a blowout, put those guys in and save these other guys for the next game. You know what I mean? But long-winded, but I think there's something deeper going on, and I personally have not seen many other situations where a player voices his opinion about how a coach is doing something and the coach stayed there for a long time. But that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Also, I do want to say with Mikal, he is the person to speak about this. Like, I don't think there's anybody who would have been perfect. Before this even happened, I was doing research on, because somebody had some like slander for Mikal, so I started doing some Mikal research. Mikal, number 1 in minutes. Mikal, number 1 in steps per game in the NBA. The only person who travels more per game is Maxey, and it's slightly more than him. Defense, one of the fastest defenders in the NBA. Like, his metrics are all the way up there. So if there's anyone who could talk about minutes, he is the guy to talk about minutes. I don't think he has an issue with it, but I think it does affect him, because he's coming into a contract extension. It's gonna factor in. If I'm playing the most minutes, I'm taking some of the tougher defensive assignments, and they're no longer calling me elite because you're keeping me in there for crazy long. That affects my contract.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see if there was an issue. If there was a reason. It's like your boss asking you to work overtime. If it's a tough project, sure, I'm gonna work overtime. But you just work overtime, because I'm gonna get every cent I can out of you. Then I got an issue, because that's a whole different thing. That's different than, I needed you to work overtime. No, I'm just working overtime because I just like it. It's a fundamental part of Tibbs that maybe up to that point he maybe thought Tibbs didn't think it was an issue. He just had to bring it up and say, hey, it's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, you can tell that the response from Tibbs was in frustration. Because here's the thing, you can't go from one season being pretty much anti-media, completely, and then, in most of the stuff with this year, it's always, well, we got to go back and look at tape. You got to go back and it's always short, non-personal responses from Tibbs. It's always, well, we'll look at it as a squad. We'll look at it. We'll take a look. We'll figure it out. The game will come to us. But when your response is that quick and is that like, no, this, like it shows something, it speaks volumes. So I think for me, that was personally a bigger issue. And I think that, it's huge for Mikal to say that, because when it comes to the potential of what the young guys on the bench can do and how they can help this team win, because you have players that are fighting for minutes and wanting minutes and not wanting to give up minutes. And you have a guy here that's saying, I have all this stuff, but I know what's on our bench. I know that these guys can bring something to the table, which is huge because, once again, podcasting, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, you can have your thoughts, but none of us are there in practice. None of us are there to see what these guys actually can offer. We just think that we know, but he's a guy that plays with these guys. He's a guy that spends time with these guys. He knows what they can bring to the game. And it's huge for a guy like him who came into the league and pretty much was put into a starting lineup. Like, this is a guy that didn't have to play that bench role. It's been that he automatically got that. And yet he's still looking out for those guys that are there, those guys that he knows can bring something to the table. And that's why I love some of these teams, like Cleveland and some of these other guys, where you see that their bench is coming in, their bench is putting in numbers, their bench are making dents, and doing things that really contribute to their winning season. So I liked it personally. I thought it was a good, thing for Mikal to do, and I'm thankful for it. Because a lot of times we put a notion that when fans and podcasters and stuff like that have an opinion, it's not a valid opinion because we are not them. We don't know what players are thinking. Stop acting like you're the player. Stop acting like you know where the player stands. And so when a player comes out, I think that it's something that we have to actually acknowledge. So that's my thoughts on that right there. But let's move on from that conversation, as it's 9:30 now. If anyone in the chat, you guys are having great things to say, you want to come up and talk your talk, I'm going to post the panel link. You can come up and say whatever you want to say. But let's talk about this upcoming game on Saturday. What does this mean for us? Like, we're at a point in the season where we're either going to continue to rise. We won these last two games. Are we going to be able to stay afloat while Brunson is gone, or do we take a hit? I think, with a team like Golden State, you have a guy that is important, in Steph Curry, that can completely put his back on his team, put his team on his back in a heartbeat. That didn't sound it's inviting. Come on up, hang out, have a drink with me. What do you want me to do? Like, you want me to send you flowers before I invite you up? Come on, Pix. You're more than welcome to come up and talk your talk. But what are your guys' thoughts for this game on Saturday?
Like I said before Tony got off, it's going to be rough without Brunson, because it's not like Brunson's going to guard Steph and stop him, you know what I'm saying? But we don't have that punch back, you know what I'm saying, that we normally have. But it'll be a game as long as we can take them out of their scheme. But I don't know, man. It's not necessarily looking good. Not that I'm not confident in the team. I think we can win the game. I just don't know how if we do. You know what I mean? I don't know what would have to happen in order for us to beat them. Especially if they're getting guys back, like they're getting healthy, and right now we're missing our best player. So expectations for tomorrow. Saturday, I don't have much. I just want to see us play. I don't want to see us get blown out. I want to see us play a good game. stay in the game. I want to see some offensive sets. You know what I mean? Like let's just figure out how to play basketball without Brunson scoring all the time. Like as long as I see steps towards that without it being a blowout, I don't necessarily think I'll be pissed off at a loss. But yeah, man, I would like for us to have, it would be beautiful to have a game where, you know, Cat has another 44 and Jimmy Butler, you know what I mean? Like I would love one of those. So hopefully we can go to that. They don't necessarily have a big that can guard him. So maybe that's the game plan if there is one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to expect. I'm just hoping that Cat can wake up. He hasn't really been himself recently, so hopefully he can wake up and this is a game he chooses to do so.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Fritz?
It would be nice to see where we're trending. Because basically we just had a 3-game losing streak, a big win, and we just beat the Portland that much. So I mean, if it's another loss, okay, we're trending down, and we're trending down, and it's something to be corrected. Are we starting a new streak? Are we starting? So it's nice to see where we're trending, because it's very hard right now, because I don't know if we're trending up or if we're trending down.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, for me, it's like, it was good to see, you know, that we had some really cool defensive moments yesterday. But then at the end of the day, you go, even with those defensive moments, how were we that freaking close to Portland? You know, like, and here's the thing. Portland doesn't have Steph Curry. You know, like, they don't have a player that can single-handedly beat teams. They don't, you know, and so for me, where we've struggled most throughout the season defensively is from three. And the fact that Steph Curry's 3-point line extends to half court, like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, we need to throw the kitchen sink at this guy and force somebody else to beat us. Like, we need somebody else to beat us. Kuminga coming back doesn't really help, you know, the situation for us either. I feel like they just have a lot of offensive weapons now with Jimmy and with Steph, and they have guys like Draymond, whose defense is good enough to cover the woes of, you know, a Steph or a Jimmy. So I think it's going to be a hard game for us. I really think it's going to be a hard game for us. I hope and pray we get the victory. But at this part of the season is where you see guys like Steph not want to settle for complacency, especially with their team starting to get healthy. He wants to do everything he can to get his team in higher rankings before the playoffs start. And I think that tomorrow is going to be one of those proven games. Steph Curry's one of those guys that is always going to shine against the Knicks. Like, that's just something he does. Where's that game at?
That's a good question. When was the last game?
The last game was out west.
So this should be home. Now I want to know.
Yeah, it's in California.
It's in Cali.
Damn, we're still out there. Jesus.
So here's the thing about, like, Steph is one of those guys that's going to shine in the Garden and he's going to shine at home. You know, like, he loves pleasing his fans back home, and he loves coming to MSG to show what it could have been. Like, that's just something that Steph has done his whole career. So I think it's going to be a very, very hard game for us tomorrow. I personally hate saying that I think we're going to lose, but I think we're going to lose. I really think we're going to take an L tomorrow, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sad. But, you know, I mean, it's not that we don't have faith in our team. We're literally hobbled right now in a way, you know what I'm saying? A good point to look at is Mitch has been playing pretty well, and he's affected the team in ways that we all hoped that he could. So, hopefully that can continue. Mitch has been deterring guys at the basket, blocking shots, changing how teams, attack the basket. But the back and forth with him and Cat in the game is kind of like give and take all game long. So I don't know. Hopefully we can figure something out there with the defense. But yeah, the bright spot is Mitch has been looking pretty good.
Yeah, no, Mitch has been, looking good. But here's the thing is like they aren't really a team that is going to do a lot of driving anyway. Like they're not a very in the paint heavy team. They are a run around until you have the open three kind of team. And now Jimmy gives them some gives them some mid game. But there's not a ton of people that on their team are trying to score buckets in the paint, which kind of limits a little bit of Mitch's effectiveness, on that. So, and with Mitch coming off the bench, he's not playing most of his defensive minutes against, the Steph Currys and the Draymond Greens and the Jimmy Butler lineup. So, yeah, it'll be effective off the bench, but what do we have that's really going to contain those guys, from the starting lineup? I think that's going to be what really matters is can we lock down one of them? We have to lock down. And for me personally, I would like to focus on Steph. Let Jimmy do his 2-pointers all day and his occasional 3. If it's going to be a buckets game back and forth, let's play that Russian roulette with Steph Curry being the one that doesn't get the buckets. Let's let Jimmy be the more efficient scorer from 2 than allowing him to be shooting from 3. So, picks from Timmy said Mitch helps your 3-point defense for sure. But a lot of those minutes aren't going to be against their elite 3-point shooter as he's coming off the bench. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Tibbs makes that, change and make sure that a lot of times that pose from the starting minutes, that when Steph comes back, Mitch can be on the floor. But we'll see how that looks. But yeah, any closing thoughts, guys?
I think tomorrow's game is I think the 2 people I think are going to be really important, Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are going to be those minutes when they play, how well they go.
Yeah.
I think those are going to be 2 key players.
Who has to defend those guys off that bench? Is that Bajimski and who else would that be over there? Bajimski,
Pajemski,
Moody.
Yeah, Moody's bench.
Oh, he's bench. Yeah, so yeah. So I mean, those guys, if Cam and Shamit have good games, that really opens things up because it's they don't really have anyone that's going to lock them up anyway. They should really dominate that matchup.
Yeah, and here's the last thing I'll say about that is I think a lot of this game is going to depend on our bench. Like, I think a lot of it's going to depend on our bench. With them having Steph and us not having Brunson, we know that they're going to be completely effective with their starting lineup when it comes to offense. And so I think that we need all of our guys to step up. I think Mikal needs to kind of have another night like he did this last game. Like, I think we need that assertiveness. We need that confidence that he walked around with on that court. I think that's going to be a huge decision maker for us. Like we need a guy like Mikal to step up. And as much as I like OG will never be the complete like offensive takeover of a game kind of player. Like, it's just not who he is. Like, he can do really well, can have great offensive games, but he's never going to be like, I need to be the offensive takeover of this game from start to finish. I don't really think that that's how he's wired. I think Mikal is wired that way. He was that in Brooklyn, had some opportunities at the end of his time in Phoenix. And I think that he needs to have that kind of mindset as long as Jalen Brunson is out, that while he's on that floor with that starting lineup, he has to put up buckets, and he has to put up good buckets. Last thing I'll talk about with you guys is, James Dolan was quoted saying when it talks about like the championship, he said we're kind of there. I mean, actually, I think Cat was sort of that last piece. I'm not expecting any significant changes, but now it's all up to these guys to make it happen. And so he thinks that we have what it takes for a championship right now. No changes.
He's
no
supposed
nothing.
to say that, though. He's supposed to say that.
Yeah, he's supposed to say it.
He's supposed to say that for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day is like, what do I really take from that interview? This is the guy that talked about a big blockbuster trade in his career that he missed. And he explained it while not being able to remember that the player's name was Vince Carter.
Yeah, that was weird.
So I kind of take that whole interview as with a grain of salt. But, you know, for me, I think that if we can get Mitchell Robinson back into the starting lineup, that puts us a lot closer to contention than Cat being our starting five. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
What in terms of Cat being a starting five with
Cat
Mitch?
being the starting five, if you really think that, you know, we have the pieces, it just is. Do we have the pieces? It's just going to take, you know, a little more consistency. Is it going to take a little bit of change in the lineups? But do we have everything that we need, or are we just not going to get there with this current lineup?
I think there needs to be some additions because this is only the first iteration of this roster, right? You know what I'm saying? When you have your two best players as Cat and Brunson, there are certain things that you have to adjust to having both of those guys there. And I think playing an entire year and seeing what they do well and what they don't do well together, you can see how to bring in a team that makes more sense for those two guys. So I can't sit here and say I think we have it all now, because I don't think we have it all right now. I think we definitely can improve. I think this team can be a lot better. I would like to see us at full strength. Mitch back up to speed with, you know, Brunson back. I just think that there are some pieces that we are missing on the bench, and I just think that's really it. I think there might be a piece or two on the bench, just like I said earlier in the show, when Golden State got Livingston and Iguodala to come off the bench for them as the vets. That kind of really like catapulted them, because that alleviated a lot of the pressure, and it was so much IQ on the basketball court at all times. And that, I think that's when your team can just really be really good, is when you have guys who aren't the starters, who can really still play at a high level mentally, at least. So yeah, I think we're close. Like I said, you take what Dolan says always with a couple grains of salt, because it's James Dolan. And he's not part of the front office. He's the owner of the team. If Leon Rose is not going to allow anything to get out within the past however long he's been the president and GM of this basketball team, I don't think that James Dolan is going to leak something out that has any that can grab on anything in an interview with guys that he's already on his team. Of course, he's going to say there's no trades. He's sitting there with Josh Hart and freaking James Brunson. So I mean, like, you know, and all these guys are friends. But, you know, like I said, I think there are changes that need to be made. Unfortunately, some guys are not going to be in the team next year, and that happens. It happens every year. But I think things we might need a slight improvement, and we'll be all right. A little bit more chemistry.
Yeah. All right, Fritz.
Yeah, I think when the Cat trade was done, I think Leon handed Tibbs like a dominating team, and you have to see where their head was at last year. Last year, we snuck in and got that second in the East. We snuck in and got that second in the East right before the playoffs. So the Knicks even saw from there they need to make improvements. So I think what he looked at is Leon handed Tibbs a dominating roster. Even though you're dominating doesn't mean you're winning. There's plenty of teams in history that are dominating rosters, just couldn't get it done. I think at this point you're tweaking. Okay, this didn't work. We're going to be making changes. Oh, is the coach the right guy? Can we make an improvement here? But I think the framework is there. Like, this should work. And when something doesn't work, we need to change it.
Yep.
Yeah. And here's my thing is like, I, as a Knicks fan, love my team. You know, like I want this team to win. You know, that's my desire, you know. But I too feel like there's a missing piece, at least off the bench. And it sucks that like we won't know if that missing piece is actually in our starting lineup until Mitch comes back and gets into that starting lineup. Because then we would see what it would look like for Josh to be with that bench unit. And we can determine if we still need something else. But we won't know. And it sucks that we won't find out till very, very late into the season or into the playoffs. And even then, you don't have enough time for it to show, you know, consistency and continuity to see if it can work out the kinks. You know, like it's so late in the season that it leaves that question mark regardless. You know, like, does Josh going to the bench help in certain things? Yes, he can run an offense. Yes, he would get tons of rebounds to give that second unit that isn't, you know, as filled with elite scorers, second opportunities to shoot and to get, you know, second chance opportunities to score. But we don't know, you know, it's all speculation. And that's the thing that sucks in like waiting so long and banking so much on whether or not Mitch is going to fit, you know, the lineup, is that we had to wait this far into the season to find out if the wait was actually worth. And then at the end of it, we go, well, we didn't even have many games. Like, look, it's March 13th, and we still have not seen what it would look like for Mitchell Robinson to be the starting center. You know, like, and that's Tibbs's words, not mine. That Tibbs, that, you know, sees Mitchell Robinson as our starter, sees him as our starting center. So their plan was always for Mikal to be the 4. And we're not going to be able to see what that really looks like for very long, maybe a few weeks at max. So that's the hard part, is to go into the playoffs and then possibly the offseason with that question mark of, is this lineup in the starting lineup ready to contend? So I guess all we can do is wait. And my hope is that, yeah, you know, that would be great if it actually worked. Like if the Cat, you know, Gobert thing worked, is the Mitchell thing going to work as well? I don't know. You know, like, who knows? I can hope it does, but at the end of the day, we won't find out until later. Who all was? I'm going to look at that whole roster real quick. Towns, because it was Cat, Gobert, Edwards. Who were the other two in that starting lineup?
Conley and the brother McDaniels.
Okay, yeah. So the thing is like, that team was structured a little bit different. You know, Anthony Edwards is an elite scorer, but I don't know. Like, what would you say the main difference between him and Brunson would be as starters?
I would say the timely buckets and when you get the buckets. I think they're both very good players. They both can get a bucket whenever they want. It's just the timing and the risk of the bucket that you take. I think Anthony Edwards takes a lot more riskier shots than Jalen Brunson. A lot of Jalen Brunson's buckets are high percentage in the paint and ones. And it's harder to do that when you take a lot of your shots off the perimeter, or, you know, like middies, kind of like Anthony Edwards does. So I think that might be the main difference between the fact that one's a point guard and the other one's a shooting guard.
Yeah.
And the athleticism, of course. But yeah, I would say that's probably the main difference.
Also, for me, it would be like ball handling responsibility. I think Jalen starts with the ball. And I think Anthony Edwards gets the ball whenever he wants. Jalen has the ball from the start.
Facts.
Which is the issue. So if there was a way that we could have him not start with the ball, someone better than Josh, that would probably be ideal.
Mikal's not doing too bad right now. With just initiating action. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's really all you need him to do with a Jalen Brunson on the floor. Just initiate some action and move around and have Brunson do whatever else he needs to do at that point.
Yeah. I think that would be ideal if Mikal could be the person who starts with the ball, because once Jalen starts with the ball, it's in his hands way too long.
He ends with it.
Yeah.
And JT, in the chat, I love your points, but the only thing I'll say is I do agree with you that the more something happens, the more fluid it is. That's true. The continuity. You look at that Cleveland team, and it's the same team that we beat last year, roster-wise, pretty much. But that team is not the same team that we played last year. Like, it's just not.
Completely.
They are far better than they were. There's a connection there. They understand each other. They play like a perfectly greased unit, like the perfect automobile, just working perfectly. My problem is how long can we preach continuity and then trade away players that are part of that continuity and then still talk about how we need continuity? We use the excuse that we need continuity. This team just needs time. This team just needs time. And then in the offseason, it's not the same team anymore. Like, we talked about how, when Jalen Brunson got there, he just needs time to gel with Julius Randle and with RJ Barrett. Okay, all of a sudden now, he just needs time now to gel and da-da-da-da, and we're going to get that continuity with him and Dante and this guy and that guy and OG and Randall, and then all of a sudden Randall's gone. Now we're going, it's just going to take some time for Cat and him, who just started playing together, and continuity here and continuity. Yes, we can preach continuity all the time, but if we're not keeping these players for long periods of time, that's a conversation that should not happen, because we can't have continuity and continue to gut the team every year and expect continuity to just come. It's not going to. So the continuity has to start with the players actually playing the games together. And it sucks that a whole season has gone by where we can't really use the full word continuity because our starting center that we're banking on has only been available since March. And so we're not going to see that continuity till sometime next year of what this current lineup could look like with continuity, with consistent games played together. That's my thing, is the question mark of we've waited so long and we still haven't seen minutes of that starting lineup. So we don't know what this starting lineup can be in a continuity type mentality over time. But, yes, things take time, but at the same time, how much time?
Yeah. I think once we I think the continuity was their plan. I think the only reason why continuity was in question was because of the adding Dante DiVincenzo in to get Cat, which we at this point know that they tried to avoid until they could not avoid it anymore. So I do think that that's still their goal, the continuity. But at least at this point, they've kind of put themselves in a position where our core is our core. I don't think it wouldn't make any sense to trade any of these guys for another piece or anything like that at this point, because it'll just be more time that you need continuity. You know what I mean? So I don't, like, a lot of people were talking about a Kevin Durant trade with our wings, and I'm just like, why? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to get someone in here who could get their own bucket, but making a Kevin Durant trade and giving up like OG would be detrimental to our defense. You know what I mean? Like completely detrimental. And who knows if the offense that KD brings would offset that. But at the end of the day, I kind of like who we are, and I kind of want to see us get a little bit better and just add a little bit more pieces to what we have and you know, head on that way.
Yeah. Go to picks for Timmy. He said something about I'll be spinning the block on Phil if it does work out only after I run down Lee. There's no spinning the block. Like, I don't really care. Like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not saying that this lineup won't work. I'm not saying that this team can't do it. I'm saying the frustrating part is that we are this far into the season with a question mark of if what we built as a starting lineup will work. Like, we have now on March 13th have not seen our New York Knicks 2024-25 starting lineup. We have not, according to what Tom Thibodeau thinks our starting lineup is, and it's March 13th. So do I think it'll work? I don't know. Would I like it to work? Yes. Do I hate the fact that we've waited this long to find out? Yes. One of my main points a few weeks ago was if this is what we were wanting to see, if it's going to work with Cat at the 4, why we have not utilized other centers that we have to see if there's a little glimpse of what it could look like. Hukporti is a less polished version of Mitchell Robinson, but we could have seen what it could somewhat look like to have someone actually at the 5 and Cat at the 4, giving us some starting minutes of that, or even just off the bench minutes, just to see what that scenario could look like with an actual 5 and Cat at the 4. That's my problem. So,
how long is Hukporti out?
What?
How long is Hukporti out?
I thought it was 4 weeks, wasn't it?
4 to 6. I think it was 4 to 6.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
Yeah. Okay.
So, he said, if this team is our core, this is who we are, then we are going to need time. If we keep trading, then I agree with you, Phil. Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, all I hate is that we have not explored what it could look like. Like, when I heard the words from Tom Thibodeau that it was always supposed to be Cat at the 4, that's where I got frustrated, because we had other centers. Like, if Cat was a liability at the 5 and they knew that, we could have tried something else until Mitch came back, just so we had a small little glimpse and Cat got comfortable at the 4, and we could have gotten an idea of what that looked like, so that when Mitch came, we were like, oh yeah, it's definitely going to work. We've seen a less experienced version of Hukporti, and it looked decent with Cat. Imagine what it's going to look like now that we have someone that's better than Hukporti, you know, in that position. But we never had that opportunity to see that. So here we are March 13th, and it's still a question mark. That's my only gripe with the lineup, is that we don't fully get at least 3 months of actual, like, oh, this is what our lineup's supposed to look like, so that if we don't get where we want in the playoffs, we at least know in the offseason what needed to be changed, because we knew what we had and we knew what to make the changes on. But now we'll go into an offseason with question marks. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be smooth this year. I think it's going to be us piecing things together the whole way. I don't think Jalen's going to be back anytime soon.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because I'm going to see them play next Thursday, and I'm not going to be able to see Jalen.
Yeah. I don't think you'll see Jalen to like the last week of the season.
Wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
So,
yeah.
But that's about it. That's about all I have. Hopefully Saturday we walk away with a victory. I appreciate all of you guys. Like, straight up Knicks picks for Timmy, JT Riddick, Craig Ward, everybody who's actually been active in the panel, David Smith. It's you guys and you girls that, you know, continue to voice your opinions and have conversations with us that make this enjoyable. You know, like, I could sit in my room in front of a camera and talk Knicks all day, and it would not be entertaining. It would not be fun to just hear myself talk. But being able to hear your guys' thoughts and your guys' opinions means the world to us. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us, and we look forward to, you know, another week next week. And JT Riddick, yo, take us up on the invite, bro. You know, the open panel is there. Come talk your talk. I truly believe that, you know, you have valuable insight to this game. None of us are the Jesus Christ.
Oh, Matrix. He'll be back. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, damn, almost had it. Be a little late. There it is.
I'm back. All right, I'm back. But JT Riddick, I was saying, yeah, come up. You know, none of us are the Jesus Christ of, you know, podcasting. None of us are able to like say that our words are gospel. You know, none of us can fully bank on being 100% right all the time, because we're not. And so we love when people come up and they talk their talk and they share their insights, because honestly, having people that disagree with us is what sharpens us as fans, because it makes us think. You know, at the end of the day, I get off of every single episode, whether it's here or whether it's joining our Nick of Time family and having an episode with them, like hearing everybody's takes and going, huh, I didn't think of it that way. You know, there's many times that me and Mr. Lee Escobedo have gone back and forth, and Lee will text me later and be like, bro, I didn't even look at it that way. Like, that's crazy that you said that. You know, like, it's making me rethink things, and vice versa, where I'm like, bro, I hate you for being right on this, you know, like, and that is part of fandom, is being able to sharpen each other with you know, opposing takes. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. He said Jesus. Yes, I did. And I'm okay with that. I hope you are too. God bless you, brother. I'll say it again if I want to.
He said Jesus.
Jesus. What you want me to say? Did he? Like, is that a more okay conversation? But I appreciate you, Fritz, for coming up and kicking it with us and filling that void of Mr. Eru selling us out tonight. But I appreciate you guys all in the panel. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, bro, you know, that I froze because, you know, you start spitting, and, you know, the world tries to stop you from spitting, but I come back. Like Lazarus, I'm a rise. But Apollo, I appreciate you, bro. Always, you know, always. Family. Anything y'all want to say before we close out?
Nothing besides for you putting Jesus and Diddy in the same sentence is, you know, it's a little blasphemous. But that's it. That's all I got.
It's not. You got to show the difference between darkness and light. You know,
you're right.
Okay,
you know?
did he need Jesus?
Did he need Jesus? Yep. Angels, demons. Yeah, you're right.
Here's the thing. You know what the word says? That all things done in dark will come to light. So I mentioned P. Diddy because everything coming to light.
Everything coming to light. You ain't lying. You ain't lying at all. Shit. You're right on point.
You guys. And so we are going to close out now. Thank you all for being here, rocking with us. And until next 2 weeks from now, we will see you guys same place, same time, same channel. Shout out to the KOT family. We love you guys, and we will see you soon.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em a shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same page.